What's up, guys? It's John here, Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go into, because this one has been requested by a few people, and honestly, when I was looking through the games, to me, maybe I would say outside of the Bengals, as far as a spread, this one probably even more so. I had, like I said, I was more focused on the Thursday game, so once I really looked at all the spreads, this one probably jumped out the absolute most to me. It just seems ridiculous, and it was pointed out, and I like to think, whenever people bring things to my attention, because I feel like if one of us is thinking something, then okay, maybe. But if three or four of us, multiple people are thinking the exact same thing, then there's a good chance it's a trap. So here we have the Washington Commanders in Dallas, who just won in New York. And, okay, it changed to 3, which actually is awesome because it was at 2.5. And I was thinking about having to buy it. But anyway, so, so it's at 3. The sports book might be at 2.5. And it makes no sense at all to me. The Commanders are not a good team. They coming into the season, they weren't, and they've shown nothing this year to display that they're a good team. They have another one of these, I like to call them journeyman quarterbacks, like for baseball, but they basically go around the league. Fitzpatrick's another example, McCown, and they'll do just enough. Alex Smith, Matt Ryan's doing it right now, and Phillip Rivers filled that role 2 years ago, and I believe it was Wentz last year that filled that role for the Colts, or it might have been someone else. But anyway, yeah, Wentz is one of those guys that just bounced around the league just so teams could. He's really good at being able to make the throws, but also being able to sell a loss. So, coming into this game, you would think the Dallas Cowboys would be at least, 4.5, and I would have them closer to 6 or 7, to be honest. Just because, again, there's nothing that would make me feel like the Redskins, according to ESPN, would be a 55% favorite on the road when they got cremated by the Eagles. And yeah, the Eagles are having a good year. But that's another narrative. You can see they're pushing the Jalen Hurts. He's probably a good merchandise seller. And again, it's just more of they push a narrative, and then now all of a sudden everyone believes, not that Hurts never had talent, but next week they could tell you anybody. They could say Doug Flutie returned and he's going to be on the Lions, and I'll promise you, if the announcers pointed the narrative enough, people would start thinking, wow, Doug Flutie, he's awesome. He really was just, the best. But that's what they do. They just randomly push players at certain times. So last week, who got his push? DeMarcus Lawrence. He had a ridiculous game. Towards the end of the game, I think they were starting a narrative, kind of like Tua with the Bengals game. He gets injured. He finishes it out, but then he's kind of coming on and off the field. So I believe he doesn't have near the game he had last game, nor the defense in general. I think we see a very precise Wentz. And then on the Commanders side, they've been getting on Jamin Davis about everything. They've been basically saying how trash he is, and people are getting on him because they're saying, he's playing like he's still in college. And this is what you will see. You will see somebody with potential that plays like garbage one week, and the next week they play like Lawrence Taylor. So I expect him to have a good game. Jonathan Allen, sweat on the offensive line. I think that's going to be the narrative, is just the hungry, young Redskins defense is going to overwhelm Rush, and he'll have his first loss. So and to me, again, it's the spread alone is reason. I don't see how they can justify a 3-point spread here, and if you look at the other games. So, yeah, I do think Washington, and I do pay attention to against the spread, like I said. So, in a lot of cases, you'll see, again, it's not always going to dead even out, but over the course of a season, the Commanders aren't going to go 3-13 on the season, so against the spread. So, yeah, I really like Washington here, and I know a few of the people suggested Washington, probably for the same reason. So, yeah, I expect Davis to have a really good game, Lawrence to be slowed down, and you're not going to see that feisty defense. The defense Dallas had against the Giants, I expect the Commanders here, Washington, they have against Dallas. So that was the one that really, really jumped out. Obviously, the other one was the Bengals. And the narrative going into that game was Tua, was injured. He shouldn't have been playing anyway. That was why I believed Teddy would come in. Teddy played a little better than I thought. But again, he has the rap of being mistake prone. So I believe he took he has an interception. He missed a couple big throws. He made a couple nice throws as well. But the 84 rating, that's about what you're going to get from Teddy. So they played a good game, but yeah, without Tua, that was basically the narrative. Yeah, I didn't see the Dolphins having much of a chance there. So we were able to win that one as well as a game. And this one, I was looking at the highlights because I fell asleep. I missed both games. Then I just woke up and saw the scores. I looked at the highlights and it's ridiculous. Just the on both sides, how scripted this stuff really is. This touchdown run is a perfect example. But of course we'll take it, right? So anyway, now Utah State's not winless against the spread, and again that's a narrative that that's something that always happens. They always even out. So the spreads are always gonna even out. It seems like I said, the 20 to 25% winning against the spread is the worst a team has done in decades in college. So in this case, obviously we wagered 26.50, and this was to win 25. So this leg is done. It's complete. And as is the other one. And I just wanted to update these in live time. I feel like that way you'll see exactly, how it works, like up to the date. And like I said, you can follow along if you want to keep a chart. Because I know a few people and I understand. They're like, I'm just going to watch for a little bit and then, maybe in due time I'll jump on board, which is great. I don't expect people to just immediately. But that's why I've been, ever since the very first pick, which was Iowa State, I've been tracking these. So these 2 won. We're up 50. And I'm going to go over this sequence in better detail because I know a few people were also asking essentially how I come to my picks for each sequence and just going over the system in general. And we've won, obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sequences now. 7, I'm sorry. So, yeah, we've won 7. Our record, I believe, is 7-5. So, we don't have an overwhelmingly great record. We're about 12 or 13-5 in totality, but unfortunately, I had made those picks before we started this. But those would be, my first, you'll see, the Packers won, the Browns. But, yeah, so we're looking at the Saints +3 and the Texans +5, and now we can add the Commanders because I don't see how they can justify this spread outside of it being a complete trap. This one, and again, I really want to stick to the system for now, so I'm not going to advise it. And again, because the money line, it pays a little better, but you're not getting crazy odds on the money line. But I would not blame people for picking the money line for Washington here. Because again, but the Commanders by a field goal, just getting that makes no sense to me. But yeah, so the money line would pay better, obviously, but in my opinion, not enough better, especially when we are getting the 3 points, which is great. So yeah, this one's going to be to win 25. And so we're going to there's a morning game and 2 1 o'clock games. So obviously the 4 o'clock games would be contingent on these. The games we pick aren't going to be essentially contingent, but how we bet them are. So yeah, we're going to go with the Commanders here. And so we have 3 outstanding wagers. That's what the 295. We'd be at around 350, closer to 375 without the outstanding wagers. So you can see it's a slow and steady climb, but it does essentially over time, especially when we're betting teams that have yet to win against the spread and it just doesn't happen. I mean, it's statistically impossible. It hasn't happened ever, and like that I can see in college or even in the NFL. And we're taking all those things into account, that it really gets past a few sequences. But like I said, I'm going to do a very in-depth analysis on the system, and because I have a very specific reason for choosing games. For example, if you go back to the Arizona one, and it was, I forget exactly which video it was, but Buffalo, I believe the over was going to hit, but then Tua got hurt, and it didn't happen. And Arizona was going to be the second part of that. And I went into reason why I was not going to do that, and I was going to pick Green Bay instead. So that avoided us going to a third leg, which we would have won anyway with Denver. And we would have won a fourth leg with Dallas. But it is important sometimes to understand, like if a trend changes or if a number changes, it's better to value your picks. So that's why we went with Green Bay back here and saved Arizona, who wound up losing, and we got that one on the second leg. Not to just ramble, it's just, like I said, I wanted to explain in a video, but I also wanted to get these picks out here, exactly how the system works and why I choose the games in the manner I do. That way you can just, you'll be able to employ it for anything. If you want to bet on a particular game, then you can bet on the game because you'll know how the system works. You won't have to just come here and bet on my picks. You can pick whatever games you want. So, again, we now have 3 outstanding wagers. We have Washington +3, we have Houston +5, and we have New Orleans +3. And I went into those in my videos as to why I believe those teams are going to win. But yeah, again, just at the end of the day, to me, when I see a trap, that's my first criterion, I guess. It would be if it jumps out as a trap, that's the first thing I look at. Then I look at the narratives, and then I look at injuries and things like that. I look at against the spread records, and they all line up here telling me that if Washington's going to have a nice big win, which they're going to have, of course, a divisional win, it's going to be right tonight, or not tonight. It's going to be Sunday against the Cowboys. It's going to be this week. So this one I feel very confident with, as do a few people that mentioned that they thought that the odds looked a little off on it. So like I say, happy earnings, and we'll watch the next couple games. There is a game tonight. It's Friday. I didn't get a great read on either side. There's a few things that have me inclined, leaning towards, I think it was the UCLA game, leaning towards the underdog. Yeah, the UCLA. I'm leaning towards UCLA here. I feel like on paper, the casual bettor is going to be like, wow, the Washington team has a much more explosive offense. They're ranked. Even though they're both undefeated, Washington is probably going to win. So I think a lot of people are going to go Washington here. And again, they're 4-0 against the spread. It's very rare. It's this has happened where teams have finished 100% against the spread, I believe, but it's very seldom. So I actually believe UCLA covers, probably wins. So if I might do a video on that one. I'll just have to do a deeper dive because I don't want to just, pick games for the sake of picking them. I do try and narrow it down to ones that really meet the criterion, like last night's college game and the Bengals. That way we always optimize our chances of winning. But yeah, if you're, like I said, we're going to bet this game anyway, and I would definitely pick UCLA, but I wouldn't go out of my way to pick this game. But yeah, so you guys take care, and I really appreciate everybody that's been commenting and just showing love, bringing things to my attention. Just whether it be like I didn't even know Tua got injured, I would have found out. But like I said, I missed the games, and someone's like, yeah, he got carted off, and I hope he's okay if it's a real injury. I think it's like wrestling. It gives them a reason for a team not to play well, and again, that's why I feel like DeMarcus Lawrence is going to have a reason not to play like he played last week. So I hope you guys enjoy the content. I'll be putting more out, obviously. Like I said, if you want, I can also do some deep dive videos because I think there's a lot of them, just with players and things of that nature and very suspicious things. But of course, we're not going to stop picking games and winning some money. Take care, guys, and happy earning.